Hello and welcome to this UCAS International podcast, where today we are going to be focusing on international alumni. So it is things like, once you've done your degree, do you stay in the UK? What are your options? Who can you get support from? So we're going to do it with me, Robbie James, and also I'm joined by the lovely Adora Wong, who is a master's student at Aston University. Adora, welcome to you.
Hello.
And we also have Noeline Hammond-Jones as well, who has one of the longest titles ever. So I'll take a deep breath. Here we go. You are, Noeline, the co-chair of the AgCAS International Task Group and also deputy head of the career service at Lancaster University Management School. Did I get that right?
Spot on.
Thank you very much indeed. It only took me 3 attempts at doing that. Lovely to see you both. Anyway, listen, lots to get through on this episode, and I'm excited to talk to you both about things like, where do you go once you've done your degree for international alumni. Let's start maybe by sort of getting to know each other a little bit. So Adora, you are a master's student at Aston University. Just tell us what you've been studying and sort of where you are on your journey.
Yeah, so I'm originally from Hong Kong, and I'm a master's student studying Aston in Human Resources Management. I did my undergrad in psychology and sociology also in Aston. Between that, I have 2 years gap, which I did my vice president education in the Aston Student Union.
So you've had a busy time of it. How long have you been over in the UK?
I've been in the UK for 10 years now, so I actually did my GCSE and A-level in UK also.
Busy, very busy. And Noeline, for you, we read out your extremely long title, which is very, very impressive. But just give us a little breakdown for an idiot like me. What does that title mean?
So I'm co-chair of the International Task Group for the Association of Graduate Careers Advisory Services. So that's the professional body that looks after all of the careers professionals in higher education. So I work with a team of professionals from other universities across the UK to help inform policy, immigration policy, and help to train and support staff in working with international students and international employers. And then the other bit of my job title, Deputy Head of Careers at LUMS, or Lancaster University Management School.
LUMS.
LUMS,
yeah,
LUMS. It's easier to say than Lancaster University Management School.
It is, yeah, I wish I had that one.
So I'm the deputy head there. So I support the management school students and I look after all work-related learning aspects to the team. So placements, internships, company projects, but also helping to support international students as well. So that's a huge aspect of what I do.
And this is quite an interesting topic for the reason that you mentioned maybe at the start of your answer there, that this is kind of a very policy-driven thing, but just explain to us how that kind of affects individuals, because I know it's sort of a bold topic, but actually for individuals, what does it mean?
I suppose we work with various different bodies like BWILA, UKISA, to inform policymakers of the impact that their decisions and their policies have on international students, on recruiting international students to the UK, and also on the employability outcomes of international students. So decisions that they make in the broader context doesn't necessarily mean a lot to them maybe, but we see it on the ground, how it affects individual students. We see how it affects employers' decisions and how they engage with international students. So we work to inform them of the impact and share things like case studies so that they can see individual stories and put more of a human context to that. So UKISA,
that's an interesting acronym. What does that mean?
So it's the UK Council for International Student Affairs. So it's an organisation that supports international students in the UK. So they've got a great website, resources and information for students that they can access to know what support they can get during study and after study.
So it's all pretty fancy. I tell you what, I don't know about you, Adora. I was listening to that thinking
It's really fancy.
It's in depth and technical.
I pretend I know what I talk about.
It's good stuff. We like it very much. Fascinating. So Adora, you mentioned 10 years that you've been over in the UK. I mean, we're delighted to have you, but explain, why did you come over in the first place?
So I came over because Hong Kong wasn't really the place I want to study in. It is much more stressful to study in Hong Kong. You are kind of just trying to fit the whole book into your brain. That's it. You just memorize everything you can and then go into the exam room and have your exam. So it's very, very stressful. We always say that, like, before you're even born, it's already competitive. Whenever you're born, like the moment that you're born, it's super competitive already. It depends on which month you're born in. Can you get into your like first kindergarten school, primary school, secondary school? Everything's competitive. So it was too stressful for me. So that's why I came to UK to study, which is much more chill, definitely.
How have you found that? Is it more chill, and is there any were there any major differences other than that?
I would say when I first came here for my GCSE and A level, it was much more chill. Like things in GCSE was much more simple. It's probably something that I probably have learned earlier in my late primary, secondary school. And then when it comes to A level, it's like a jump, which is what everyone say. But then you go into undergrad, it's still more simple than you think it is. When it comes to postgrad, and suddenly you get another jump and you're feeling that hit again.
So just to follow up on that point, the UK is not easy, right, in terms of its education. How's it kind of seen around the world?
No, of course it's not easy. It'd probably be easy in like GCSE, but afterwards it's more difficult. I would say the quality is really good because you get more hands-on experience, practical skills. You get to networking, which is one of the main things. Even in university, you just get to network with different people, your professor, you get your one-to-one tutor group. There's so much more in UK that provides us to come to study here.
And that's really interesting, Noeline, what Adora said there, that I suppose, I don't know, there might be a stereotype for us in the UK that we think, oh yeah, people love to come and study here because, the universities are so good. Yes, they are, but also there is a cultural change maybe in learning. Do you see that amongst the students that you interact with?
Definitely. I mean, I came to the UK 20 odd years ago to study as well. So that's how I ended up here. I'm originally from Ireland. So to me, compared to Irish universities, it's a 4-year degree. In Ireland, here it's a 3-year degree. So to me, it was more cost effective and a better return on investment for my time because I didn't want to spend 4 years doing my degree. So that was my decision making in coming here. But a lot of students look at it, and in terms of financial return on investment as well, it's good value for money to study in the UK. So we do have a great reputation for education, but then also compared to, say, US universities, we are better value for money. So students are looking at that cost aspect too, especially in the current economic climate.
I was going to say, and in the current economic climate, is that still true now? Mm-hmm. It is. Yeah. Interesting.
If you look at other overseas universities and the costs per year, in some aspects, I think higher education costs in the UK are lower than that of private schools overseas, so per annum. So it's a good return on investment for many students, and they're getting that academic accolade of having a UK-based education qualification.
So are you saying that we're a bargain? We are.
Well, yeah.
If you want a bargain, come to the UK, everybody. All right, you got that.
Pretty much, yeah. It's a good return on investment. And also the students are getting access to great academics, but a really good multicultural environment on and off campus. So it's a great way for them from a social and academic point of view to build their knowledge and education.
Now, the topic of this podcast is alumni. So I want to talk about when you, Adora, decided, when you were during your degree, when did you decide that, yeah, you know what, even when I finish and I graduate, I'm going to stay here and I'm going to do a master's?
I think it was a bit because I met my husband. So he's British.
You stayed for love.
That's why I would stay. On more of an aspect, let's go back to academic. I think being in like UK is much more chill, but also at the same time you actually learn a lot more. You have more hands-on skills, especially in Aston University. We get a placement year out, which we make our 3 years degree into 4 years degree actually. There's a lot more hands-on experience. I get more group work. I get to know more people. The culture is really diverse, and that's probably why I want to stay, because the diverse culture made me learn more than what I will get like in Hong Kong. So I just like, okay, I'm just gonna stay. And to be honest, spend it so much money here, you might as well just stay.
I spent it all anyway. When during your degree did you start thinking about it though?
So I always wanted to do my undergrad here. And then it was very much of the culture, like the policy actually changed for the government. So I think it's around when I was going into uni. Before it was 7 years that you study and then you will get a permanent resident in here. And then now it's 10 years. So what happened is you had to get to 10 years. So you had to find ways to basically stay enough to get your permanent resident. And then I had a great opportunity when I was in my final year. I actually got recommended to run for the election in my student union for Vice President Education. And that kind of drive me into like, okay, I'm now networking with more people. I now know more stuff. I now actually enjoy working in this environment. I want to actually continue. So I just decided I will do my postgraduate and finish my 10 years.
And did you win the election?
Yeah, I won the election.
Yeah.
That's why I got onto it.
Knew
yeah.
it. I knew you had it in your door. Is that a similar story, Nolan, from your experience? Do you see generally people are thinking about it kind of quite early on in their journey?
Yes and no. I find that students, and this obviously differs from student to student, but the majority of students I see don't actually start thinking about the visa journey until a bit later. So they don't. I always joke with students that they spend more time researching their next holiday than they do their career.
Relatable.
So for us, it's very much like I ask students because I support our recruitment teams out in country. And when I see those students, what we call pre-arrival stage, so before they come to the UK, one of the things I advise them to do is to research their post-study options so that they can
before they've even made the trip.
Before they've even made the trip, so that they can understand how they can make the most of their time in the UK, which I think is the most important thing. So that things like what is required in the sector you want to move to. So many students will automatically move into a master's, but not necessarily do the research to see if a master's is required. So that's in some sectors, a master's is required. In others, it's not something that employers will ask for. Equally, in some countries, a master's is required, whereas in others, it is not. So doing that research to know, you don't have to have it pinned down, but just have an idea of the kinds of areas you want to work in and what those options are. So not all students are switched on. But I would.
That's a big compliment coming from Nolene as well.
It is.
She knows her stuff. You heard
do
her
this for
title.
15 years. But no, it is. It's important to kind of look at what are you, and I was guilty of that as well. I mean, I made some of my decisions in my career without doing the research. So do as I say, not as I do. But I really do encourage students to look. What are your options supposed to be? What are your visa options? And keep up to date with visa changes. The likes of the UKISA website, for instance, is a great place to stay up to date on what's happening, so that informs your decision making going forward. Is the UK your post-study destination, or are you looking at going home, or are you looking at a third country? But know what those options are and what the requirement of that destination is, whether it's career, sector, country.
Keep an eye out, actually, also for another episode that we're going to be doing, which will focus on transition visas. Just to play devil's advocate on that, though, things change when you get to uni, right? And things can change quite quick, even year on year, month on month, as to what you want to do. So how do you kind of find that balance between, planning ahead, being like, I'd like to go into this, but also having an ability to adapt if you suddenly think, nope, this is not for me?
So that is also a reality for a lot of students. When they come and they realize, actually, this isn't for me. What I say to students is try and make the most of your time at university. Employers are not hiring academics unless you're going into academia. They are hiring students who make the most of their student experience, including volunteering, part-time jobs, internships. So experience as much as you can, because that will also inform your career decision making. And where possible, if there are the opportunity to do work-related learning, so internships or company projects, placement years, then take the opportunity to do that. And every university has different offers, so just research what that is. But I think it's the safest time in your life to try new things and try different pathways. Your internship or your placement doesn't have to be directly aligned to what it is that you want to do. It could be something that you might want to do. So for instance, you might want to go into a career in digital media. You might want to go into a career in finance, and you're studying a business related subject. Then give it a go, see if it's for you. So I look after the placements and internships team, and we've had so many students come back from placement going, this is definitely not the career for me. I've given it a go. Or actually, I've gotten so many great experiences on this. It's opened my eyes up to X, Y, and Z. So yeah, things will change, but the more you stay involved in the student community, the more you engage with your career service, with what your career service is offering in terms of employers on campus, events, fairs, the more informed you're going to be. But it's also, you're not going to have that opportunity again get in front of so many different sectors and employers to find out what it is that you want to do. So make the most of it while you can.
It's actually quite freeing. It's quite nice to hear that. And that you were nodding away there, Adora. Would you kind of, looking back on your time now, would you go along with that of kind of, I don't know, break those shackles that you can sometimes, I think we were all guilty of it, the students going through that student experience being like, oh, this is, I've put all my eggs in this basket, but actually you want to have the open mind and try stuff.
Yeah, I think for me, I kept open-minded, and when I was in placement, I actually did financial stuff, which nothing to do with my degree, basically. It was
Essential life stuff, though.
a bit of boring journey, but
Well.
I do learn a lot. Like, I definitely learned a lot in using Excel also, which helped a lot when I was in my VPE role, basically working in the student union. So it's actually great. So I think keeping an open mind is always important, because you never know what you're going into. Like, if I didn't keep an open mind, I probably would not have run the election. Then I probably would not have stayed on and in the same union doing my master and things like that.
And therefore, you wouldn't be sitting here doing this podcast.
Yeah,
And have had the
definitely.
free flapjacks that we had beforehand.
Yeah.
By saying that quickly 3 times. What other options were available to you? You mentioned that you had a little look around. What kind of things were you potentially exploring doing?
I would say, so for us, mainly for me, you get to do your postgraduate, or you can actually get your postgraduate study visa. You can basically apply to whatever you want without having the visa barrier from companies. So you can just say like, okay, I can actually get a visa by myself because of post-study student visa. But then obviously you can go into a T2 visa, which is a work visa that your company just sponsors you and do whatever you want to. I would say definitely search outside the box, because what our career advisor always tell us is like, you can't really tell the company that you can just sponsor your visa by yourself until you get to the stage that it's a final interview, and then you tell them, I actually need a sponsor visa. But always having a backup plan, because for Hong Kong students, you can now actually have post-study student visa, which means that they're more likely to take you in, because not all companies can sponsor visas.
We know notoriously, Nolene, that Adora moved here and stayed here for love. We mentioned now we're finding a husband.
Yes.
What are from your experience, what are the main reasons that people choose to stay here? Other than, I know we mentioned value for money in terms of coming over in the first place, but staying, what is the main reason behind that?
It still goes back to return on investment. So
Very financially driven, aren't we, us
it
humans?
is, yeah. And it tends to be graduate salaries. So a lot of the students that do come are not financially wealthy. So they will have loans, families have taken out loans, mortgages, etc., to pay back. And the graduate salaries where a lot of these students come from aren't sufficient to pay back the level of the loans that these students have taken out. So many of the students are looking to stay in the UK because they want to earn a graduate salary and they want to develop their career overseas. They want to have that multicultural aspect to their career. So they don't just want to move home. It might be something at a later date in time when they're a bit older and they've developed their career. But also, life does change while you're at university. It sounds like, 3 years is a short time. It's not. We say to students all the time, your life changes very quickly, and that can also change those outcomes that you had in mind. So you need to be adaptable to your career options. And I also think as well, having those career options for students in the UK gives them the skills and knowledge that they can essentially take anywhere in the world. So we've got a great graduate market. It is very competitive. But when students are successful, they contribute massively, not just financially, but also to the community, to the industries, to the networks. So it's a great opportunity for students to stay if they can stay. But like I said, it's very competitive.
And I know it's a $1 million question, but it is competitive here. So how do you stand out? Answer that one in a minute. Go on. If there was one thing that you were to pinpoint down, what would it be that you need to try and get right to stand out?
Get experience. So a lot of our students come to university, and
while you're at uni,
before you come to university, while you're at university, a lot of students come and they think, right, I'm going to focus on my academic studies. I'm going to get good grades. And I said it earlier, good grades do not equal good jobs. Employers want more. So I always advise the students get experience. A placement year is not a distraction. A part-time job is not a distraction. Volunteering is not a distraction. Working for your students' union is not a distraction. Playing football is not a distraction. These are things employers are looking for. They're looking for you to be involved in the student community. They're looking for you to develop your skills and knowledge, your professional skills and your professional development in a way that when you enter the workplace, you're bringing something with you. So as well as that great academic knowledge that you've developed over that time, you're also bringing with you your own networks, your own skills that you've developed, your own professional knowledge potentially over time as well. So it's really important to kind of make the most of university, but experience is not a distraction. It's an absolutely essential part of the student experience that employers are now looking for, not just in the UK, but worldwide. You know, if you want to get a job anywhere in the world, employers are going to be looking for what experiences have you gained while studying.
Just again, to sort of play devil's advocate though, and maybe you can both kind of answer this. It is a bit of a chicken and egg situation when it comes to experience and qualifications, right? Because so many people want, or I certainly remember the kind of stereotype was that so many people want experience, but you can't get experience unless you get experience. But then you need experience for the. Does that make sense? Like it's quite hard to get that sort of buck that trend or to make the first step.
I mean, from a careers point of view, that's what your career service is for. So a lot of the opportunities. So for instance, you know, a lot of universities now have company projects. So they're real company projects working with real life companies where you have to solve a problem for that company and it's related to your degree. So live company projects is now an aspect of what universities use now to get students experience in front of clients or in front of employers at undergraduate and postgraduate level. In addition to that, placements, that question isn't really, so it's not a chicken and egg with placements. Placements and internships are, again, that safe space where employers are not expecting you to have experience. So they are potentially recruiting future talent. They use it as a talent pipeline. So they're looking at potentially investing in your future. So if you've done a really good job at an internship or a really good job at placement, you could be offered a graduate role. Fine. So that's at graduate level. If you've not done anything whilst at university, then it's a chicken and egg situation.
I see. Yeah. Okay. Well, would you go along with that, Adora?
I think definitely is. Like we always tell people or like any potential student that come to uni and tell them that like you need to get a placement or internship to get yourself a step ahead of everyone else when you graduate. To be honest, even though if you can't get any placement internship, even to be like joining club or society, being in a committee role, actually will help to build the foundation also.
Excellent. And if you were to look back at your sort of experience, what would you have done differently? What would you be telling a young Adora to do?
I would definitely say don't take so much responsibility in your final year. So I was president of a society and a club in my final year. Because
you won the election.
Well, that was after my final year.
Oh, sorry, that was after.
Yeah,
sorry,
that was after my final
year. You won multiple elections.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
But then I also working in an Enactus project, which in a HR department. That was one of the reasons why I kind of want to get into HR at the end. So that's a bit too much, I would say. Definitely doing a final year, you do want to focus a bit more on your study while you can have a bit of fun. But then getting the idea of like getting into postgraduate is also tough. So get prepared of that. It was not expected as tough as I thought it would be, basically.
And I'm going to put you both on the spot here. You ready for this?
Go for it.
If I'm a student and I'm an international student and I've left it all a little late, I'm getting towards the end of my postgraduate degree and I've just not thought about it.
Okay.
Obviously, we're going to ask those people to take a deep breath, but what would you then advise them to do, Nolene?
I think as a first step is look at your network. I think social capital is underrated and really helping students to understand that networking is absolutely a key part of that job search. So, you know, speaking to peers who have successfully gained a role, speaking to family, reaching out to former employers. If you've worked in your home country, reaching out to employers in your home country if they've got connections overseas, and using the likes of LinkedIn to really build up your alumni connections as well. So that's where alumni can help really to open doors for a lot of international students, especially because they've been there, they've done that, and they can give you hints and tips and advice that you might not be able to find online. So and please engage with your career service. If you've not had a conversation, have a guidance appointment, get to know what your options are, understand how the visa situation works in the UK, understand which employers are on the sponsor register so that you're not wasting your time. But yeah, I think making connections, networking, looking at engaging with alumni, and engage with your career service.
And Adora?
I'll say stay open-minded. Never like close your door and turn around and say like, okay, I'm definitely not going to do that, because in that sport, you might as well just try your best to find whatever you can and just go for it.
And have fun.
Yeah.
Enjoy it. Have a
Definitely
nice time.
have fun.
Absolutely. Excellent. Good stuff. Listen, thank you very much indeed. Adora, just to finish off, what are your next steps? I feel like we're invested in your journey now. I mean, I'm excited. You planning on staying in the UK and obviously getting your master's done, and then do you have any plans after that?
So I always have a backup in my mind is I want to help someone since I was there too. So I want to do a job maybe in HR or no matter in psychology or anything to just help someone. It could be actually in career services, to be honest. You're having lots of
I
people.
was thinking about that earlier when we
career.
had a conversation. I was like, maybe with your background, careers could be a good career for you.
So like, because I'm currently a student ambassador, which we look after lots of upcoming students who go into uni, which help them a lot to give them some guidance in like outreach and everything like that. So I'm opening any option I want, like just keep the open mind, to be honest, as soon as I can help someone.
So what was it? Maybe you two should have a little chat after this.
See, it's all about networking. It's all about who you know is as important as what you know.
And that's a nice way to end it as well. I like that very much indeed. Listen, lovely to have both of you on. Nolly, an absolute pleasure. And Adora, lovely to have you on. And good luck with the rest of your journey as well. Will you keep us updated with how it goes?
Yeah, definitely.
Good stuff.
Thank
And
you so much.
we'll have you in Nolene's seat when we do the next series, yeah?
Yeah.
Not that she's taking your job.
yeah, no,
Not taking your
replace
job.
me, why
Don't worry.
don't you?
No. You'll be in the host seat because I will have got myself sat. Good stuff. Thank you very much indeed to both of you. Don't forget, as always, ucas.com/international, the place to go to find out more information about all of these topics. And of course, you can subscribe to the series of all of these podcast episodes on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. We'll speak soon.